4. The last important point for the strengthening of our faith is that we let God work for us when the hour of the trial of our faith comes, and do not work a deliverance of our own. Wherever God has given faith, it is given, among other reasons, for the very purpose of being tried. Yea, however weak our faith may be, God will try it, only with this restriction, that as in every way He leads us gently, gradually, patiently, so also with reference to the trial of our faith. At first our faith will be tried very little, in comparison with what it may be afterwards, for God never lays more upon us than He is willing to enable us to bear. Now when the trial of faith comes, we are naturally inclined to distrust God, and to trust rather in ourselves, or in our friends, or in circumstances. We will rather work a deliverance of our own somehow or other, than simply look to God and wait for His help. But if we do not patiently wait for God's help, if we work a deliverance of our own, then at the next trial of our faith it will be thus again. We shall be again inclined to deliver ourselves, and thus with every fresh instance of that kind our faith will decrease, whilst on the contrary, were we to stand still, in order to see the salvation of God, to see His hand stretched out on our behalf, trusting in Him alone, then our faith would be increased. And with every fresh case in which the hand of God is stretched out on our behalf, in the hour of the trial of our faith would be increased yet more. Would the believer therefore have his faith strengthened, he must especially give time to God, who tries his faith in order to prove to His child in the end how willing He is to help and deliver him the moment it is good for him. In the early years of the institution, Mr. Müller and his fellow labourers had to endure many severe trials of faith, as some of these instances show. Mr. Müller, when writing of this period, says, "Though now, July 1845, for about 7 years our funds have been so exhausted that it has been a rare case that there have been means in hand to meet the necessities of more than 100 persons for 3 days together. Yet I have been only once tried in spirit, and that was on September the 18th, 1838, when for the first time the Lord seemed not to regard our prayer. But when He did send help at that time, and I saw that it was only for the trial of our faith, and not because He had forsaken the work, that we were brought so low, my soul was so strengthened and encouraged, that I have not only not been allowed to distrust the Lord, but I have not been even cast down when in the deepest poverty since that time." A gift of £12, August the 20th, 1838. The £5 which I had received on the 18th had been given for housekeeping, so that today I was again penniless, but my eyes were up to the Lord. I gave myself to prayer this morning, knowing that I should want again this week at least £13, if not above £20. Today I received £12 in answer to prayer, from a lady who is staying at Clifton, whom I had never seen before. Adorable Lord, grant that this may be a fresh encouragement to me. A solemn crisis. Regarding one of the sharpest times of trial, Mr. Müller writes, September the 10th, 1838. Monday morning. Neither Saturday nor yesterday had any money come in. It appeared to me now needful to take some steps on account of our need, that is, to go to the orphan houses, call the brethren and sisters together, who, except Brother T., had never been informed about the state of the funds, state the case to them, see how much money was needed for the present, tell them that amidst all this trial of faith I still believed that God would help, and to pray with them. Especially also I meant to go for the sake of telling them that no more articles must be purchased than we have the means to pay for, but to let there be nothing lacking in any way to the children as it regards nourishing food and needful clothing, for I would rather at once send them away than that they should lack. I meant to go for the sake also of seeing whether there were still articles remaining which had been sent for the purpose of being sold, or whether there were any articles really needless, that we might turn them into money. I felt that the matter was now come to a solemn crisis. About 9:30, sixpence came in, which had been put anonymously into the box at Gideon Chapel. This money seemed to me like an earnest that God would have compassion and send more. About 10, after I had returned from Brother Craik, to whom I had unbosomed my heart again, whilst once more in prayer for help, a sister called, who gave 2 sovereigns to my wife for the orphans, stating that she had felt herself stirred up to come, and that she had delayed coming already too long. A few minutes after, when I went into the room where she was, she gave me 2 sovereigns more, and all this without knowing the least about our need. Thus the Lord most mercifully has sent us a little help, to the great encouragement of my faith. A few minutes after, I was called on for money from the Infant Orphan House, to which I sent £2, and £1 and sixpence to the Boys' Orphan House, and £1 to the Girls' Orphan House. A Precious Deliverance. September the 17th, 1838. The trial still continues. It is now more and more trying, even to faith, as each day comes. Truly the Lord has wise purposes in allowing us to call so long upon Him for help. But I am sure God will send help, if we can but wait. One of the labourers has had a little money come in, of which he gave 12 shillings and sixpence. Another labourer gave 11 shillings and eightpence, being all the money she had left. This, with 17 shillings and sixpence, which partly had come in and partly was in hand, enabled us to pay what needed to be paid, and to purchase provisions, so that nothing yet in any way has been lacking. This evening I was rather tired respecting the long delay of larger sums coming in, but being led to go to the Scriptures for comfort, my soul was greatly refreshed, and my faith again strengthened by the 34th Psalm, so that I went very cheerfully to meet with my dear fellow labourers for prayer. I read to them the Psalm, and sought to cheer their hearts through the precious promises contained in it. September the 18th. Brother T. had 25 shillings in hand, and I had 3 shillings. This £1 and 8 shillings enabled us to buy the meat and bread which was needed, a little tea for one of the houses, and milk for all. No more than this is needed. Thus the Lord has provided not only for this day, for there is bread for 2 days in hand. Now, however, we are come to an extremity. The funds are exhausted. The labourers who had a little money have given as long as they had any left. Now observe how the Lord helped us. A lady from the neighbourhood of London, who brought a parcel with money from her daughter, arrived 4 or 5 days since in Bristol, and took lodgings next door to the Boys' Orphan House. This afternoon she herself kindly brought me the money, amounting to £3 2 shillings and sixpence. We had been reduced so low as to be on the point of selling those things which could be spared, but this morning I had asked the Lord, if it might be, to prevent the necessity of our doing so. That the money had been so near the orphan houses for several days without being given is a plain proof that it was from the beginning in the heart of God to help us. But because He delights in the prayers of His children, He had allowed us to pray so long, also to try our faith, and to make the answer so much the sweeter. It is indeed a precious deliverance. I burst out into loud praises and thanks the first moment I was alone after I had received the money. I met with my fellow labourers again this evening for prayer and praise. Their hearts were not a little cheered. This money was this evening divided, and will comfortably provide for all that will be needed tomorrow.